really guilty of murder? Or is there an untold side to this story?
What are you saying? That he murdered somebody on the side of the road in uniform in front of God and everybody? I never ever believed that he was even closely, remotely capable of any such act. There's no way. No way.
Is there evidence that could prove he was framed?
I've done the homework, I've done the research, I've seen the evidence. I have seen for myself that the case against Michael Chappell is manufactured.
You realize that a lot of the information that you believed over the years is simply not true.
Follow me as I dissect this case piece by piece, and you, the audience, must decide if Michael Chappell is innocent or guilty.
The man that they put in jail for murder is not the perpetrator. Someone else is, and they let them get away with it.
If he didn't do this, he deserves for people to know.
I can absolutely prove that Michael Chappell did not kill Imogene Thompson.
Don't believe any of that, absolutely. I'm sure if my peers stood up and convicted a liar. Check for yourself. You decide.
I'm your host, Sean Kite. From Imperative Entertainment, this is In the Land of Lies.
Good evening, Chapel Warriors, Chapel family. Thank you all for being here tonight. I am Tammy Owens, and we have got something really special prepared for you. But first, the most anticipated event of the summer, the Live in the Land of Lies event, honoring Michael Chappell and his fight for freedom with our co-host extraordinaires Henry Ball and Sean Kite. Now, following the presentation, we will have a very special VIP time for anyone with a VIP ticket. You can go and get your picture taken. You can get your merchandise autographed. And if you haven't had a chance to hit the merchandise table, do so after the show. Go ahead and get those things ready, okay? Now listen, for the rest of us, we have the dessert table open, the drinks will still be flowing, and the silent auction. I don't know if you've been back there yet, but we've got some really awesome items. Have y'all seen it? Yes. Okay, good, good. Have you opened up your wallets yet? Okay. All right, y'all, if you haven't opened up your wallets, remember what this night is about. We are raising money for Mike's defense. We want to see him free. Let me show you something though. You see this right here? This is the star of the night. It is a one-of-a-kind original hand-painted in the Land of Lies guitar that we are going to have Sean Kite sign to the highest bidder. So the top bid, it starts at $1,500 and it closes at $845 tonight. So everything that you want to bid on, make sure you get it in by then, okay? Now, I know y'all are excited, right? We want to get on with the show, right? So I want to introduce you to our two co-hosts. First off, we're going to start with Henry Ball. Henry is a husband and a father. He is a contractor by trade. He is the founder of the Michael Chappell is Innocent Project and the founder of the FIGHT organization, Falsely Incarcerated Getting Help Today. It's a federally funded 501c3 organization set up for people that have been in Mike's situation. Now, on top of that, he is an award-winning author, and of course, you can get his book, Michael Chappell, back there with the ladies when the show is over, so make sure to do that, and he will sign it for you, I've heard, okay? Now, secondly, hold on. He might say, come on up here. Come on up here, Henry Ball. support and fight for Michael Chappell, who's been falsely incarcerated, wrongly convicted of a crime he didn't do for the last 30 years for the murder of Imogene Thompson. Folks, let me introduce you to Sean Kite.
Y'all have finished clapping already?
I mean, shit, man, we're here. This is Disneyland Live Drive. We're having a good time tonight. I am, or you? If that's all you got, you better drink up. That bar is open. I mean it. We are here for one reason and one reason only. We're all here for the same reason, and it's a good one. It's for this woman's husband, Michael Chappell. And it's all about raising money, so we're gonna have a good time. It's not a humdrum night. We've had enough of that shit. Her and her family have had enough of that. Let's have fun for once. Let's raise some money. Let's get him out of prison. Yeah! Once and for all. Because I really gotta say, 30 years is long enough. And I was thinking about this the other day. 30 years ago, I'm giving myself away a little bit here at my age, but I was 12 years old. And I thought about this. All the things I've done in my life since I was 12 years old. Think about this. Do the math. It's easy. Subtract 30 from your age. Think about where you were 30 years ago. Think about all the things you've done, the places you've seen, the people you've met, the experiences you've had in those 30 years that Mike Chappell has not had the opportunity to have because he was sitting in an 8x10 cell for the wrong reasons, when he never should have been there in the first place. And that's heartbreaking. I know it is to all of you because you're all here tonight. And I applaud every single one of you for being here because you spent money to be here, hard-earned money. I know that. Times are tough right now, but you're here. You spent your money, you're spending your precious time, maybe away from your family, maybe some of you are happy that you're away from the kids tonight. I know what this guy said. That wasn't even a hand-raising thing to tell you. Right here. I'm with you, dude. I got a kid about to turn 2, and I love him to pieces. I love him to pieces, but I was like, you know what? Honey, it's probably not the best place for a kid. I might have to do this one on my own. Alright. I'm sorry. So we're going to have a good time tonight. We got a good show for you. You guys are going to hear some things that you've not heard before. You're going to hear from some guests. We got some wonderful guests up on the stage, and I'll introduce them as we get to their segment of the show. But I did want to take a second to say a few thank yous and make a few introductions. Of course, Tammy Owens, I want you to give her some love because she has been so active and supportive of the fight of Mike Chappell. You see her videos in the Facebook group. She doesn't get paid for this, guys. She does this out of the kindness of her heart and her belief in Mike Chappell. It is amazing. And she looks wonderful tonight. I told her earlier, she came out wearing all black, and I said, honey, look. Yeah. We should have coordinated this a little better. You're upstaging me. You guys know this fella here. I think you do. You don't. His name is Henry Wall. You know that much. And we wouldn't be here tonight, any of us, without him. His passion for Mike Chappell and his story is amazing. And again, he's not getting paid for that stuff. He's out there, he's raising money, he's holding events. He did a lot to set up this event tonight, and in addition to a lot of other people. He's been out there pushing, selling tickets, getting you guys to donate. Every penny that this guy has raised, which is tens of thousands of dollars, goes directly to Mike Chappell's lawyer fee, right? Give him some love, because you wouldn't be here without him. You would. He was incredible.
I'm also the guy that stalks Sean Tyson, how he's doing the way of the live, so that's what I deserve a round of applause for.
You know how I know this is Henry's first time doing an event like this? He started talking over the applause for him. I understand it if you guys were clapping for me and he cut in and said, oh, let me tell you something. I want to introduce you to one other person. Most of you probably know this person, but I wanted to just acknowledge her. The unsinkable Mrs. Aaron Chappell. Hands up, bro. Take that. Lovely to see you. Here's over. This woman has been through more shit, and your family has been through more shit in the past 30 years than I hope to ever even understand. And I'm sure you all feel the same. And this night is all about you and Mike. And I'm glad that you all are here. I'm glad that we're in this room together because I truly feel, and it's humbling for me to say this, when I put out this podcast, any of the podcasts I've done, and to see how it affects real people is truly humbling and amazing that you guys have connected so emotionally with Mike and his story, and I'm honored to be a part of that. And I'm honored to have been able to tell Mike's story. And I want you guys to know too, the people in this room represent such a small fraction of the people across not only the country, but the entire world that support Mike. You guys are just the ones that could be here. And that's a crazy thing. Think about this. Tens of millions of downloads of that podcast. And I could probably count the negative reviews of the people that went, oh, that guy, he should be the person, he did it. I could count on one hand out of tens of millions of downloads. It means tens of millions of people hearing it. So
And we know where all of those came from too, by the way.
And I want you to think about that. That's amazing that people heard this story. And I got to tell you this, and Henry can attest to this. I was as unbiased as I could possibly have been in this story. That's real. Henry booked the shit out of me. That's also real. That's also real.
And I wasn't unbiased. And we had that conversation many times just because I had already done the homework, I had already done the research. You see all these boxes in front of you? The boxes without tape represents the 21 boxes of evidence that's at the district attorney's office, and the 7 boxes in the front is what they still won't show us. Back to you, sir.
Yeah, no. And by the way, if a vodka tonic finds its way to the side of the stage, I won't, every day of my life was like this. Bourbon and Coke? All right, we've got a good show for you guys, and I just wanted to share one thing with all of you. I'm going to speak from the heart a little bit, if I may. In the Land of Lies is the 3rd podcast that I've done. I've been very, very fortunate, or maybe it's the stories that I've chosen. Maybe I just have good taste and a good story that needs to be told. But they've all been very successful. They've all reached, more people than I could have ever imagined. And it's given me a new career. Because I do this for a living now and working on another one now in the same ill-fated county that this one takes place in. The first show that I ever did, if any of you ever heard a show called In the Red Play. People seem to like that one. That show, in a nutshell, Terry, you're a saint. In a nutshell, that story is, if you haven't heard it, if you're that person that hasn't heard it, it is about the enforcer and hitman of the Dixie Mafia in the 60s and 70s in Georgia, told through the eyes of his eldest son, Stoney Bird, who might be here. And what happened in that story is you see a man who was 60 years old at the time coming to grips with the things that his father did, which were horrible. He's the most notorious killer in the history of the state of Georgia. Not my words, that's law enforcement's words. And it changed his life telling his story to me and through me to the rest of the world. And Tammy mentioned my other show, Fox Hunter. Fox Hunter is something that's also very special in my heart. In that story, if you haven't heard it, please listen to it because it's heartbreaking and inspirational at the same time. It is about Rhonda Sue Coleman, who was murdered in 1990, and that case is still unsolved. And when I spoke with her parents for months, I was so angered and disgusted by the amount of information they didn't have 30 years later about their daughter's death. And I proposed in the podcast this idea of what I call Rhonda's Law. I said there should be a law against this. They were learning things from me, a podcaster, about their daughter's death. And that disgusted me so much that I said, this should be a law. These people, these families need to have information about their loved one. And I put it in the podcast, and millions of other people apparently agreed, because on April 28th of this year, I sat in front of Governor Brian Kemp, who signed into Georgia state law the first of its kind, the first law in the nation of our history of its kind, the Coleman-Baker Act, which does exactly that. I'm very proud of that. And I tell you guys that for a reason. Because I like to brag about my shows. No, I tell you that for a reason. And it applies to this story, and to this family, and to my chapel. I am living proof. They're going to be stacked up here. You guys, by the end of the show, I'm going to be trashed. And it might be his fault. Thank you, man, in the salmon literature. I tell you this for a reason. I am living proof that when you tell a story that needs to be heard and people connect, like you all are here tonight, and people stand up and say, this is wrong, I don't want to take this. I'm going to fight for these people, real world consequences, real world positive things happen. And I believe that's the case in my chapel story. You all here are proof of that because you've taken time out of your lives to be here. I applaud all of you for that. So thank you. Give each other a round of applause. Let's get on with it, huh? Let's do it. So Henry and I were talking about this show, and what are we going to even talk about up here? And there is so much information in this case. Henry, I'm going to out you right here. When I first interviewed Henry, if you've never met Henry, he does like to talk. And now imagine putting a microphone on him, which makes the average person talk even more. This case is so complex. There's so much information in it over the past 30 years and so many people involved. How do you condense that down into a podcast? It's, 10 episodes. But we managed to do it. And even still, in 10 episodes, which are nearly an hour long each, that's simple math. Nearly 10 hours of audio, and you guys have heard this much of the story. It's enough to show you exactly what happened, but there's a lot that just wouldn't really make sense to talk about. And so we talked about this, and I said, we've got to illustrate to people visually to me, the most important part of this story for Mike, which is the night of Imogene Thompson's death, April 15th, 1993. That's the night in question. And this is also the point for me that I got to eventually when I look at all the information I've learned, when I look at what we're going to show you right now, this is where I said, from an unbiased, undecided person, is Mike guilty? Could he have done it? Did he not? Just because he's a nice guy? It doesn't. I went through all that shit. When I sat down and really looked at what we're going to show you, this for me was where I came to the conclusion that not only did Mike Chappell not kill Imogene Thompson, he couldn't have if he wanted to. You want to see it? Yeah. Sorry, I didn't catch that. Yeah. That's more like it. Keep it there. Jordan, we can go to the next one here. Henry. I'm glad you have a laser clock. So it's approximately 10:30. We know this because there were eyewitnesses at each of these locations. Okay? If you do the math, Anna, we're leaving it shortly after 9:56. We arrive at 10:01, right? So location number 2, we stay a few minutes. We travel 5 more minutes. Let's say we were at the gym for 3 to 5 minutes. At 10:11. No, I didn't say it. It's the record say it. 10:11. He's there for how long was he at that call?
He was at the call for 10 minutes.
He was at the call for 10 minutes. So add 10 minutes to that. Add another approximately 6 minutes to get back to the station to clock out. What are we at? 10:26. Okay? Yeah.
And one thing that got left out of this 27 minutes that we've used up here, or whatever that math is that at 9:56 he takes the call. It takes him a minute or so to process the call. Then he has to go out to his car, get himself situated in his car. Somebody was making a joke earlier, Mr. Kendrick died, that when they knew when Mike was coming that they would have time to run because Mike had to fold himself out of his car. He had to pull himself out. We had to get in the same way. And I only know that because I have to do the same thing. And so he didn't leave at 9:56 and was on the road at 9:56 and a half or 9:57. There's 2 or 3 minutes, 4 minutes. So there just is simply no extra time in this timeline.
But the prosecution, headed by Danny Porter, would have you believe this. Oh, jeez. You just stay there and smile.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Smile ever.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Thought we were on the same page.
We are.
Yes, ma'am.
The prosecution, however, we gotta do this quickly, or we're wasting time there. I'm wasting time talking. This is what the prosecution says happened, and I want you to remember what you just saw in the map. Do we all agree that the map that we just explained to you about those 3 locations that Mike went to that night, with eyewitnesses seeing him at each one, are we all in agreement that that puts him back at 10:30? Approximately.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Henry, what does the prosecution say?
So prosecution says that we start at Firehouse 14. Now, the prosecution wants to say that he left at an earlier time, but of course we have a dispatch tape now, so there's really no refuting what time he left. And they say that he went first to his clandestine meeting with Imogene Thompson at the Glen Cove Muffler Shop. Now, I will take one exception with you, that 5 minutes, Terry Bagley, who is the person that heard the gunshots and lived right here, says that that's at least an 8-minute drive, which he did all of the time because, you know, he lives there, he's the works in the firehouse. But in any event, he goes to the Glen Cove Muffler Shop.
All right, what up, Anna, our math genius?
Yeah.
Okay. Lisa, well, she said Anna, she was pawning it off her friend. Lisa, our math genius. All right, we're gonna leave shortly before 10 o'clock. We got about 8 minutes then, let's say, to location number 2. You with me? Keep track.
So we pull into the Glen Cove Muffler Shop. We meet Imogene Thompson. Allegedly, we go up to her driver's window, fire 2 shots. Then we go around to the passenger side, go into the passenger side, drop some blood, and get the purse, come back around and slash the tire, and then lock the door, and then we go back and get in our patrol car, and then we go and catch up to the alleged witnesses right around this point, and we do all of that in, less than a minute, because we have only 6 minutes to get from here, or 11 minutes to get from here to the gym, and then, 5 minutes to the Arden Road call. So, let's do the math again.
But let me point out something here. I just want to say that if we left the station, the Firehouse 14, and said about 8 minutes at that time, we probably have a more direct route now as the county's growing. So 8 minutes. I'm just gonna say this. It throws the rest of the times I'll spare you going through each one of these. It throws everything else off by that amount of time, which is fine if you don't have witnesses saying, no, he was here at 10, he was here at 10:11, and he clocked out at 10:30. He was here for 10 minutes at this Arden Road. Mike Chappell. And I said to you guys, this is where, for me, when I looked at all the information, you guys heard it all on the podcast, all of these main points. This was it all comes back to the beginning. This guy couldn't have killed Imogene Thompson if he wanted to. There wasn't time. That's what did it for me. That's what got me over the hump.
And here's why the rest of the timeline is actually irrelevant. Because by the time Mike left the firehouse, Imogene Thompson was already dead. So it really doesn't matter how long it took him to get from here to here to here to here to here. You can't be 2 places in one time. If he was here, he wasn't here. And therefore, he didn't do it.
Very well said. So, we are running way longer than we thought we would be at this point. Are you all right with that? Yeah. Man, see, I heard you get louder before. I really did. I love that. You should be on level 10 the whole night. Since the end of the podcast, we did as much as we could. And I told Henry this, the very first interview we did. I said, mark my words, and you can tell online. I said, mark my words. This podcast will come out, and you'll think, well, okay, people listen, but And I said, whether it's 2 weeks or 3 months or 6 months or a year, people are going to come forward with information that you've never heard. When it gets to the right person. And it will. And what happened?
Well, there's numerous people in this room and on this stage, but in this room tonight that prove that was absolutely true. And some of the information that has come forward is just absolutely unbelievable. Like, we weren't looking for that information because we didn't know it existed. And it tells just an unbelievable story about what really happened that night.
And one of those pieces of information from one of those people that came forward, who elected not to be on the stage tonight, which, you know, I understand, is somebody that contacted Henry, who we've been calling, you may have heard his name, Officer Maria. Anybody know that? Yeah. Do you know the story? Yeah. We're gonna tell the ones that don't. Henry, you were contacted by Officer Maria. Tell us in a nutshell what that is and why it's important.
Well, and just real quickly, she contacted me to let me know of her story, of, you know, kind of a couple of things that she witnessed. And we're not gonna get too deep into the things that she witnessed because those weren't really the lead. And she didn't know, she knew what she knew, but she didn't know the relevance of it. And so she started telling me about a particular part of her story. And it was that, to make it quick, she parked her patrol car next to Michael Chappell's patrol car.
After he had been arrested.
After he had been arrested, and after the car had been moved into the secure lot. So this was about a week after all the testing was done on Mike's patrol car. And all the searching of Mike's belongings had been done, and the car was now in a secure lot. Well, she parked next to it. To make it short, she was also being railroaded by the Gwinnett County Police Department, and she came back to meet with the chief of police, and realizing that she was being railroaded herself, she said, you know what, I better go ahead and clean out my vehicle. So she went into her vehicle, cleaned everything out, put it in her personal vehicle. There was a bag that she didn't really recognize, but she was in a hurry, so she just put everything in her car. She had her meeting, she heard the things that she heard, she went home, and a couple of days later, after she was clearly being railroaded by Gwinnett County, the two sergeants, or actually a sergeant and a captain, showed up at her house looking for things that might have been in her patrol car, such as evidence files, film canisters, and different things that it turns out were the very things that were missing from Michael Chappell's patrol car.
Yeah, I want to jump in real quick. So if you guys remember this, when Mike was arrested, he said, look, here are these names of other officers in Gwinnett County Police Department that have been involved in the drug trade in the county. And I heard all this from my sources on the street. And I kept hearing these same names over and over and over. So I was looking into it. And he had a box in his trunk that Henry described, a big white tote that had unprocessed film, it had photographs, it had video, it had audio, it had documents and notes and handwritten, notes of his. And when he got arrested, they found it, they took it as evidence, and then all of a sudden when he said, look, this is what I'm doing, and here's why. Go look at that box of evidence, you'll see that I'm telling the truth. It was gone. Imagine that.
It disappeared.
It disappeared. So Officer Maria comes into the story because
she found it in her patrol car. Now, keep in mind that Sergeant Klein said he lost this material due to human error on the journey from the precinct where it was taken into custody to the headquarters, which is 8.5 miles. So somewhere in that 8.5 miles, just due to human error, it disappeared. But now it's
I'm going to call bullshit.
Yeah.
Anybody else calling bullshit on that?
And now it's found inside a different patrol car. I'm sorry, that's not human error, that's human intent. And what was the intent? Were they scrubbing the files, going through the stuff? Mike's got evidence of this officer and that officer. We can't let that be seen. Is that what they were doing? There's some evidence that that's exactly what they were doing, but it certainly wasn't an accidental loss due to human error. It was due to human intent.
And the big takeaway from this is up until Officer Maria, who we affectionately call her Officer Maria, but she's very real, and her signed affidavit is with Mike's attorney, and it's going to be part of this habeas filing, and it's very important. But the takeaway from this is that this isn't something that up until this point, 30 years later, it was Mike's word versus Gwinnett County's and Danny Porter's. Now, it's not. It's real. I found this. I saw it. I didn't realize the relevance of it, but it's real and I saw it. That's huge for Mike. I don't know if you understand the gravity of that, but it's big. So, that was one of the people that came forward. You all heard the podcast. Yes. Did you ever hear this podcast?
Did anybody hear it more than 4 times?
Henry has heard this podcast so many times.
Easy, buddy. Like,
So many times.
no,
You know why?
No more than 8 to 10 times.
Some people don't like hearing their own voice recorded.
Anyway.
No, but Officer Maria came forward, and so many other people did that are important, but we wanted to bring somebody else up here who is this man sitting next to me. And his story, I mean, we would never have even thought that this would have been someone we were looking for. He came, he fell out of the heavens like a little gift.
Well, I'd like to tell real quickly how it came about. It really did fall out of the heavens.
He contacted the Facebook group.
No, I saw, we're talking about Kendrick. So I saw an internal affairs report where Kendrick had spoken to the police back then. And I read what he had to say, and I was like, man, I need to talk to this guy. I need to find this guy. And I did my best to try to find him. I kid you not, like 2 days later, he pops up as people you might know on Facebook. And I'm like,
that's the one time I'll say God bless Facebook.
For real. And listen, I reached out and I said, hey, you know, this is who I am, and you may have spoken to the police back then. And he said, oh yeah, I can't wait to talk to you. Give me a call, here's my phone number, and now we'll let him tell his story.
I want you guys to welcome Kendrick now. Talk loud, man. How you doing, brother? Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. First and foremost, at this time, I'm a building director for Habitat for Humanity. I'm also a former active Marine. When I found out, well, let me just take you back. What happened was, at the time that this took place.
And so, I'm sorry, I'm gonna interrupt you 1 second. I wanna ask you guys something real quick. We're running behind. We're running long. Has anybody got any place to be tonight? No! Are you sure?
Yeah! Here.
So you're all right if we hang out for a while later than we thought? You sure? Is that okay with you, sir? Have another drink. Next round's on me. Let's go. And if you all want to hang out, we're going to go. We got a lot of stuff to show for it. Alright. I just don't want to piss anybody off, you know?
Well, they can bring my drinks and
Look. That's a freshie, baby. Go ahead. So, so you're talking about Kendrick contacted and spoke with Henry, and then I spoke with him, and I just want to say, you know, his story corroborates a very, I like him strong, man, it's all right. His story corroborates a very important part of this overall story that we told in Mike's whereabouts. And we never knew this guy existed. We had no idea. You know, everybody see the name of the document, it didn't mean anything. He calls in and tells this story, and I want to remind you guys of one thing when you hear him tell us what he's going to tell you. This was before Mike Chappell's name was ever whispered in relation to this case, to this murder.
It was before any suspect was whispered in relation to this story.
Yeah, sorry, I'm sorry, I made a cut. I'll go here.
So look, first and foremost, let me give you a quick history, okay? I'm not being paid by anybody to be here, okay? Matter of fact, growing up, we ran from Mike Chappell. So, I didn't run here from Mike Chappell, okay?
My wallet just got heavier, right?
Mike locked up, he's locked up several of my friends and family, some have served 5, 10 years, okay? So this isn't a laughing matter. But the reason why I'm here is because I want to come out here and I want to tell the truth and share the truth. I had a girlfriend, my wife's right here.
I was going to say, like, you're bigger than I am.
I know, that's a girlfriend.
Very ugly woman you were dating at the time, not the beautiful woman that supports.
Not the one right here.
She was just recording this video, and I saw her pause for a second. She was coming.
But now, at the time, let me tell you a little bit of background information about myself. At the time, I was also a Life Boy Scout, I was an Explorer Scout, and Varsity Scout. So, and I didn't have a criminal record, so I wasn't bad in the community. My father, my grandfather, was also a former first police officer, black police officer of Beaufort. So I respected them all. That being said, I was on my way home, coming up Peachtree Industrial North. And I always remember the muffler shop there because they had this unique amber color light. And whenever I would come home, I would always be at my girlfriend's house at 9:30. So it would take me roughly.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Oh, that's
We're gonna talk into the heart, man. Don't be shy.
I'm losing my voice at that rate. Okay, so look, so at any rate, so what happened was, I would top the hill there, and I would look down, and that light would let me know, hey, look, you only have 5 more minutes to get home. You're not far from the house. So on this particular night, it had been raining, and the roads were just slick. It was Peachtree Industrial. It was dark right through there, and just as usual, I looked up to the left, and I saw at the top of the driveway where this muffler shop was. I saw the light. But then I saw underneath that light a car, and I saw lights. So I'm sitting there thinking, wow, I've never seen lights there this late in the evening. And so I sped up a little bit because I wanted to see what the car was. So then as I got closer to the car, probably within a couple hundred yards, I could see that it was shaped like one of the new Infiniti Lexuses at the time. They just both came out. And so I'm sitting there thinking, wow, this must be the owner, of this place. So hey, let me just get up close and see what he's doing. So he comes barreling down the driveway, his car does, and it just hangs to the left, and it just wide open up Peachtree Industrial. So of course, I'm 17 or 18 years old, and I floor my little Toyota pickup truck. And now I really want to see this car, because I'm sitting there thinking, one of my buddies had gotten an Infiniti, one of my buddies' father, so I'm sitting there thinking, wow, this is an interesting car. So at any rate, I speed up beside the car. The first light slowed it down, so I couldn't catch it, but then the Peachtree Industrial 23 red light had stopped.
I hate to do this to you, but we're gonna come back to you. You guys mind if I interrupt the show for 1 minute for something special? I mean, for something really special? Yeah! Okay. So we were hoping this would work out. You guys are supporting Mike Chappell here tonight, obviously. And I know so many people have sent him cards and letters, and it's been so helpful to him mentally and emotionally and the family. We're obviously running late. We had this whole show planned out. It was going to be in this perfect time, but we completely fucked that up. And I blame the vodka. Can I see this real quick?
What you letting, show?
Sorry. So we have a call from somebody special. Mike, how you doing, my friend?
I'm good, my friend. Everybody, thank you.
Mike, I know you're talking, but these people were screaming, brother. We couldn't hear you. And I just want to say, guys, show him how much you care right now. Let him hear you. Mike, I hope you can hear him, buddy.
I can, I love us all.
These people, Mike, I wish you could see this man, because there's so many people here tonight, and this is just such a small representation of the people, as you know, that have listened to your story in this podcast, that have read Henry's book, that are supporting you, that are standing behind you, that are fighting for you, that are raising money for you. And is there anything that you want to say to them?
Yes. First off, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight, showing the love and support. I'm sorry I didn't get to meet everybody at the meet and greet earlier. We ran out of time. But I'd like to give a shout out to Henry and April, the workhorses on this. They've done so much. Sean and your podcast, without you, the world wouldn't know, wouldn't even be close to all the truth. Behind the scenes there, Aaron and Corey, getting the lawyer Billy involved, Danny and Phil, so everybody else. There's just too many things right now. On the other side, I'll shake and hug all of you. But I'd like to thank all the current and retired law enforcement officers and first responders for their love and support I've shown for cards and letters. Are just unbelievable. And I'd like to thank my family, my children, Chad and Chelsea, my wife, of course, all my brother and sister-in-laws, God bless you all, my nieces and nephews. Ashley, special shout out to you for keeping all these communication lines open for us. You know how hard that has been. But I'd like to thank you all for coming out tonight. Your love and support for the cause. It just keeps me and my family in awe. You never could have believed this kind of, just a few years back, I would never have imagined we would be here tonight at this stage of the fight. I want to tell you what you're supporting. Your support isn't just helping me
I tell you, these people are standing up in the room and there's, I'm gonna say half the eyes in here are dry, and I think it's one eye in each person. Brother, you know, I've talked to you.
I have a reputation, I can't be seen crying too hard.
I've got the same reputation, man, so we're good. We'll act tough in a minute here, but you know, for right now, I just want to say, we'll let you go, but it's inspiring how upbeat and positive, and I say this, and Henry and I have talked about it, Aaron and I have talked about it. It's so inspiring to me, and I'm sure to many other people in this room, how upbeat and positive you remained with what you faced over the past 30 years. I commend you for it, man, and we've got your back, and everybody in here, as well as millions across the country and across the globe, you know, if you get the letters from all over every day.
And we're coming to bring you home, Mike.
And I got a special guest here, who wants to just say hey for a second.
Yes.
We're gonna do a family picture of brothers.
Okay. We're gonna do that.
And they're standing with you in between them, buddy. I just want to say a very sweet sentiment.
5 more months and I'm done. That's one thing, I just want to thank you for getting into law enforcement in the first place. Let's try to follow your footsteps. Proud of you.
I'm proud of you, you got so much more on this. I couldn't ask, you asked my fault.
Like I said, family first.
Family first.
All right.
Hey, Mike, as well. I love you so much. Thank you for always being there for us.
First time, third.
Always.
All right, man.
Be strong.
All right.
Remember who's in charge.
Remember who's in charge.
Mike, we're coming to bring you home, brother.
Anderson, we're coming to bring you home, bud. We love you, buddy, and like I said, just go to sleep with that ringing in your ears, okay?
All right. Thank you, Mike.
We'll talk to you soon, my friend.
All right.
Show's over. See ya. Holy shit, man, you guys came through. That was awesome. I mean, seriously. Seeing you guys, I'm looking out here, you all can't see, but I see so many people, even the tough guys, wiping tears out of their eyes. And that's awesome because it shows that you guys aren't here just because it's some cool thing to do. You're here because you really care. I commend all of you for that. And you should be proud. This is take or die. I apologize, sir. That was kind of an important call.
Okay. So, yeah, I've been drinking with Sean's been drinking, so now I feel like he really like you to talk.
And I just want to point out, we are not running behind because of me rambling.
All right, Henry. Now listen, that was awesome. listening to Mike speak. I haven't heard that voice in over 30 years. But I gotta admit, while some of you all were having tears, I was fighting back the desire to run. When I heard that voice, that meant I was too close, something was about to happen. I was trying to talk my way out of something. So, all right, thank you, Mike.
So Kendrick, you were coming down, we're gonna skip ahead, you were coming down Peachtree Industrial Boulevard.
Yeah.
What is it that you saw?
So when I was coming down Peachtree Industrial Boulevard, I noticed that this Infiniti was coming out. Now, it was a white, pearl white, silver colored car. And when I was able to catch up with this car at the red light, I looked immediately over to the left-hand side. And if you'll notice tonight, I wore a white dress shirt. Well, this is the white dress shirt that I noticed from the driver's side of my vehicle looking over. I looked over the passenger side at the driver directly, and he did not want to look at me. When I looked over at him, I just kept staring. And this guy finally was trying to cut his head just to look at the mirror. And when he did, I saw this guy had on what appeared to me to be a wig, a white wig. And then he had on some gold frame glasses, and then when the light turned green, he just punched it. I mean, he punched that car at me. I didn't think anything about it. You know, like, hey, okay, well, fine. He put the air in arrogance, right? He didn't wave.
Kendrick, how would you describe the size of his forehead, if you had to?
Oh, you big old forehead.
Big?
Yeah, like there was no.
Did he look shit. You look at him like that?
If you put a white wig on this head, that's exactly what I saw. You notice he's not a very attractive man with his shoes. That's what I noticed. I mean, really.
No, let's be honest. Is that the person that you saw?
That's the person that I
I
saw.
want to just let you guys in on the secret real quick. That's JP Morgan. You know that name?
But now, let me tell you what happened, right? So that night, I went home. I didn't know anything about what had gone down. So the following day, if you'll picture myself and my best buddy in the world, we were like dumb and dumber back then. So the next morning, there was the report on the news that Miss Imogene Thompson had been murdered. Well, I told my buddy that, hey, I came back from Samantha's house and I seen this car. And he says, Kendrick, you might have seen the killer. And I was like, no, man, no. He's like, no, really, you didn't call the police. I'm like, oh, you know, he's like, no. So my buddy's like, tell me the story. We gotta call the police because you may have seen somebody involved with this murder. So immediately I was like, okay, well, so we called the police department, 911, and that day we were hanging out at Beaufort Dam Beach. And so they came out there to meet us immediately. They came right out there, and then we were sitting there talking. They asked me some questions, and I told them that I had seen the same story I just shared with you all. And they looked at me, they looked at each other, and they said, well, that doesn't help the prosecution. And that's what they said.
So I just want to make sure you all understand the gravity of what he just said. This man saw who he identified as JP Morgan.
And by name. Yeah,
by name. Identified JP Morgan as a person driving away from the scene of a murder. Before it was in the news, before Mike Chappell was publicly a suspect, before JP Morgan was publicly a suspect, and they told him, this doesn't help the prosecution, and buried that file away, not to be seen until Henry and I started digging around with this project. Let that sink in.
Well, and I asked you a question, Kendrick, when we first talked, and it kind of goes to what Sean was just saying. Why do you think they buried that file? Why do you think they didn't hear what you had to say?
Well, at the time, you know, I didn't pay any attention because afterward it came out that Mike Chappell was the suspect. So I just thought, wait, you know, maybe they had like some type of collaboration going. Honestly, I thought that maybe because we had found out that JP Morgan committed suicide like the day after that. So I just thought maybe, you know, there was some type of collaboration. I went about my business. I didn't pay no attention after that. Well, years later, I'm married, nearly 20 years later, and you know how us husbands fall asleep on the couch and we make our way to the bedroom. So I was in that process of waking up from the couch, and then I noticed Forensic Files was on. And I was watching it, and it was talking about the Mike Chappell case. Something they're thinking, okay, this is interesting. So then I watched it, and I just thought, oh my God, what a bunch of bullshit. I'm sorry, I didn't get a disclosure. I'm gonna read every now and then something like that might slip out. But really, that's what my feelings were. Because I was sitting there thinking, wow, no other side of the story. You know, nobody mentioned my testimony or anything. And then I started thinking, wait a minute, you mean to tell me that they could have possibly convicted Mike Chappell and didn't even look at what my testimony was, or even try to see if there was any other people who had seen the same thing? So,
Which there were.
right. So that's pretty much why I fell into this, and that's what brought me here, because I felt like I owe it to Mike Chappell as a human being to make sure that he gets the true goal.
All right, I'm gonna steal the mic for a second. I have been told by the ladies in the back that they are very bored, and we're not raising enough money. So as you're watching, if you will go back and start checking out the silent auction items and make some bids, that would make them really happy.
And that would keep me out of trouble with my wife, so.
All right, we can switch that. So, you know, several people again, we've heard about Officer Maria, we've heard Henry's story. Before the end of the podcast, the production of the podcast, Henry and I were looking to speak with somebody who we couldn't find, and we would come to learn that it was because we were looking for the person with the wrong name.
And we're still not gonna tell you his name.
Here's who you're talking about.
You're talking about Suki.
No, I'm not.
What's the name?
Thank you for we've really got things together up here. I made contact with this next guest shortly before the end of the podcast, but she wasn't quite ready to go on record, and I begged and pleaded for her to let me interview her for the podcast, but she hadn't heard any of it at that point. But she finally, just recently, reached out to the Michael Chappell is Innocent Facebook group, which God bless that group. Because it's been a source of so many people contacting us, and you know, it's doing amazing things for Mike's case right now, believe it or not. But Carolee Goldman is the person that we should have been looking for, but we weren't. And after you hear her story, you're going to want to stand up because it takes a lot of guts to come here, being who she is. Carolee, welcome. Who are you, and how do you even relate to the story?
So, my maiden name is Carolee Thompson. I am Imogene Thompson's granddaughter. I am the reason why.
Say that last part again, Carolee. You're what?
I'm Imogene Thompson's granddaughter. And I'm the reason why she was called a grandmother in the first place.
And why are you here tonight, Carolee?
I am here to honor her and seek true justice for her and have the real perpetrators locked up and Chapel set free.
Holy shit. I thought I was gonna have to drag that out of you. What did you say? Say that again.
Chapel needs to come home.
I want to This could go one of two ways. I just want to say, I want to take a second, because I genuinely didn't know she was going to say that. And I'm kind of taken aback by that. You told me, we talked on the phone, we just sort of met over the phone. We met tonight for the first time in person earlier today. And you told me something on the phone. You told me a lot of things, but you told me about your childhood, and there was something that really stuck with me. You said that when your grandmother was murdered, she wasn't the only one you lost.
No, about 3 weeks prior, my mother passed away. And then after my grandmother was murdered, I basically lost my father. My other grandmother raised me, and my dad had nothing to do with me.
And your dad, for those who haven't pieced this together yet, is Michael Thompson, Imogene's son. There's so many questions that I have for you. I know we have very limited time, but you said something to me again. You said a couple things that really stuck with me. There was something I kind of was mulling over after we got off the phone, and that was, I asked you, did your dad ever sit you down? Because you were very young. You were a kid when Imogene was killed. And I said, did your dad ever sit you down and talk to you about his mother's death and about what this means that she was murdered?
No, I literally had no contact with them. And all that I was ever told, I was 7 years old. All they would tell me was, like, Gwinnett County cop murdered my grandmother, her blood was found in his car and on his radio. That was all I was told.
And at that point, yeah, why wouldn't you believe him? I mean, what has it been like for you? Because you were kind of a late bloomer with this podcast. You didn't, and I understand it. What is it like for you now that so many people are talking about it, and to be here in front of all these people? What is that like for you?
Well, I mean, growing up, Gwinnett County had a bad taste in my mouth.
This is going to turn into a support group in Gwinnett County.
I didn't really think to question the facts that I was told.
But what about now? I mean, when you heard the podcast for the first time, what was that like for you?
I just scratched my head wondering why evidence was missing, evidence wasn't looked at, people weren't talked to. It just makes absolutely no sense.
So I'm going to ask you again for clarity, just because I like hearing it, and I'm sure you do too. Do you think Mike Chappell is responsible for the murder of your grandmother? And honestly.
I believe that he was framed.
I'd like to share something about Carolee and her story, if I could. So, we have sitting here the Chappell family here in Chapel, Chad Chapel. We just heard from Mike. These guys have been just victimized by Gwinnett County. And you think about Imogene Thompson, obviously she's the victim and she lost her life. But her granddaughter, who was 7 years old at the time, was also victimized by Gwinnett County. Not just by the people that should have been caring for her, but Gwinnett County, I think we look at the next slide, Gwinnett County decided that they needed her dad to testify against Mike. They needed him to lie against Mike. And so in exchange for that testimony, Danny Porter allowed Michael Thompson to not pay any of the back child support that he owed for this child. And she reported to me the first time I talked to her that until she was 18 years old, Michael Thompson paid one child support payment of $100 for the entire 18 years of her life until she was 18 years old. And that was allowed by Gwinnett County. If any man in this room owes child support and decides not to pay that child support, what happens to you? You go to jail, you lose your license, you probably lose your job, and you know, we don't put up with that. But she was left, you know, Michael Thompson famously said, I was left in the wind when his mother was killed. Well, no, she was left in the wind. Daniel Porter is responsible.
Very well said. I think it's, you know, it's so weird for me to say this to you, but I mean, I got off the phone and it was sad. I was sad. And you're well adjusted, you got a life, you're happy, you're married, you've got, you know, life is good now, but nobody deserves to grow up the way you did and have no solid parental figure. And obviously your mother passing, you can't do anything about that, but your dad should have been there for you. And I'm glad that you're here, and I'm proud that you have made the decisions on your own to be here. So thank you.
We already hugged enough, apparently. So, as our show comes to an end, alright. Well, I can keep talking, brother. I would set Henry free. So, I did, obviously, you know, we wanted to save the best for last. Because, and I know you guys clapped for her, but we have Mrs. Aaron Chapel. And I'll tell you this, I've done a lot of several of these projects now, and this is really what makes it worth it for me. It's not sitting on the stage, it's not people walking up and saying, oh, that's great podcast, or thanks for telling that story. That's great, and it feels good, and I appreciate it. What really means something is when Aaron and Chad look me in the eye and say thank you. And it's that bottom of the heart, thank you for telling Mike's story. I know you've gotten this from writing the book and doing what you do. Thank you for allowing me to tell my story. When I first met Erin, you know, and she, by the way, if you've never met her, she is a firecracker. I had to hold this woman back. I'm like, remember, you're on mic. You're on mic. He's recorded. Well, honey, this is your party, so let it rip. What does this all been like for you? And I, you know, I could have asked you this a year ago when I started this and you would have given me one answer, but now that you've seen, and I hate to say I told you so, but now that you see all the support from all over the world, I mean, literally all over the world, people are writing Mike letters in prison now, and you know, what is it like for you guys?
I am so beyond grateful for all of this, all of you, my husband, and my babies, and every chapel warrior, every family member. We are all connected. I feel like our hearts and minds are all in the same place. And for so many years, we've just felt so alone. And I know God had us, but to see all this support and love and just prayers and donations and books and podcasts, and it's just overwhelming.
And a TV series to come, by the way. You guys are really the first to hear that, but there's a TV series in development right now to tell my story.
Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you.
And this is Chad, and I gotta tell you, man, but first of all, I just met Chad tonight for the first time, and I wanted to say, leave some muscles for the rest of it, bro. Shit.
I'm trying to catch the old man. I think that's an effort in vain.
And it's still raining.
I wanted to tell you something. I didn't get to tell you this earlier, but you've heard the podcast. And there's a story in there that is the single most difficult part for me to hear, but it was also the single most difficult part for me to do when I was making the podcast and putting the audio together and creating the episodes that you hear, the music and all that stuff. And it was a story that Aaron told about you being 11 years old, shortly after Mike was arrested, and going to see him in jail. And him asking Chelsea and your mom to step out of the room so he could get out a minute with his son, which I can now, for the past, 20 months, I can understand that in a way that I didn't before. But he said to you, I'm not leaving you, they're taking me from you. And that, holy shit. Hearing that it was so, I probably had to hear it 40 times. You telling it through tears, and every single time I got this run of emotion from the bottom of my spine to my throat, and teary-eyed every single time, and I still do when I hear it. And my wife bawled her eyes out when she heard it. Do you remember that?
I remember like it was yesterday. I remember the day that I heard episode 2 for the first time. Daniel remembers it too, because I called him right after. I was on the way to see my father, driving from North Carolina down to Statesboro area to see him. I was listening to episode 2. And I didn't know it was coming until it came. I remember that day. I'll never forget that day. I've never seen my father cry before, ever. He just didn't cry. And he cried that day. He told me that. And the gravity of the situation, knowing that, all right, he's not here anymore, and he's passed the torch to me now. Gotta look out for your mom, gotta look out for your sister. I took those words with every bit of gravity straight to heart. I've done exactly what my father told me to do since that day. And I will continue to do so. With his steady. Specifically, Sean, we haven't spoken before today. This is the first time we met. When I heard that episode, I had to pull over, man. Decades of a calloused heart of having your hopes go up and down and ride this roller coaster of emotions, and watching your mom steadfast as the torchbearer of the family in her faith, in her loyalty to her husband, and loyalty to God, and this wave after wave of emotion, you just become hardened to it for so long. Parallel treatment. You know exactly what I'm talking about, don't you? It all came out in one moment, right there on the side side of the road on I-16, going to see my father next to your podcast. And I started to feel things a lot more again. I feel that hope, kept feeling that hope, feeling like this is going to be a family again, whole in physical presence. It's going to happen. It's going to happen soon. And we have to give thanks for that. And I appreciate that. Thank you very much for that.
How do you follow that up? Thank you. Yeah, and you stop crying. This is a happy event, remember?
I'd like Chad to share one more thing with us. When we did the book launch, he gave a speech, and Chad's a very impressive person. He's got a list of accolades, and he said something at the podcast that book launch that just really struck me. He described himself by all of the titles he's had and all of the things that he's accomplished. And then he said there was something that he was even prouder of than all of that. And I'd like Chad to share it with us.
Yeah, they call me a lot of things, especially from the people in this room. I'm gonna call a friend, a nephew, cousin, an asshole brother. At work they call me Sergeant First Class Chaplain. I'm fortunate enough to, and I'm also fortunate enough to have the honor to wear the Green Beret as well. So, there's only one title that is still a pride in my heart. It's just so overwhelming for my entire life. And it'll be unmatched no matter what accolades come, what titles are given. The title I'm most proud of is the son of Michael Harold Chappell.
So, Henry and I, we're almost finished, I promise. We won't keep you in these seats much longer. But Henry and I were talking, and we wanted to give you guys an update, a real legitimate update on where Mike is with his habeas filing. It's happening soon. This is the big battle, for real.
And I've got an extra announcement to make about that too. I believe we're about to hear from Mike's attorney. But the habeas hearing, I have mentioned that it got rescheduled. It's been scheduled for August 28th. And there's actually a very good reason that it got moved. The judge looked at the case and looked at his docket and said, no, I have to have a clean docket. I need this case to be on the docket by itself. So we got August 28th, only Mike's case. Then Billy got to talking to him, the attorney, and said, look, we want to be in the courtroom. We want to, we're going to have some people that are going to come and show support for Mike. So it got moved from the small courtroom to the large courtroom down in Tackle County. So on August 28th, Chapel Warriors, we're going to court. And we're going to let them know what we think. What was it? Free Mike Chapel! 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 So that's August 28th. Pay attention to the Facebook group. We'll give you more details. We also will have the option to Zoom in, so it'll be both. We've already been told that there's going to be a lot of media there, and we're going to be there, and we're going to show support, and we're going to tell them, Free Mike Chapel.
And this is it. Yeah, this is what we're looking for. This is Mike's big stand. Honestly, it's important. So anyway, we were talking, and we said, Henry and I can really kind of sit up here and fill you in, but we thought it might be a little more special and important and mean a little more to you if you heard it right from Mike's attorney. Unfortunately, Billy Ray couldn't be here tonight. He's got a family engagement, and we all, family comes first, and we get that. But I did ask him to record a statement for you guys so that you could hear directly from him where we stand and what's going on.
All right, hey Chapel Warriors, I'm sorry I can't be there with you in person, but I'm really happy to have gone on this long journey with you. When Henry Ball contacted me 12 months ago and told me about the Mike Chapel case, I was moved. It's a compelling case. It's the most important case I've ever worked on in my life. You know, when I became a lawyer, I go into it with these ideas that the justice system is infallible and we always get it right. And unfortunately for Mike and his family and the many people that have been touched by his case, unfortunately that's just not the case. Mike has been through a more traumatic experience, more traumatic life than I could ever imagine. It's my privilege to work with him, to fight for him, to rescue him. And it's an honor to do that with all of you. Your support, financial, emotional, all of it has been a tremendous help to him. He has found himself in a position that I don't think any of us thought would even be possible. All of these new witnesses coming out of the woodwork after 30 years to come and tell their story and to hopefully undo this terrible tragedy that has fallen upon Mike Chapel and his family. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for your support, for your willingness to go on this journey with us and to be a part of what I hope is going to be at the end a success story. I believe firmly that Mike Chapel did not kill Imogene Thompson, and I think that when we get our chance to present the information to the judge and to have him consider all this new information and to consider the law and apply that law to the new information, I am confident that Mike Chapel's coming home, and that's in large part to Henry and of course to all of you. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for your support of Mike Chapel. And I look forward to our day in court.
August 28th.
I gotta tell you, Henry and I talked to him the other day, to Billy, and he said something to me that kind of made me fully understand what it's like for him and how important this case is to him. Not only, as you heard, does he believe truly, we've had this conversation many times, not only does he believe truly that Mike Chapel is an innocent man, but he woke up, he said, 3 times the other night, laying in bed, asleep, woke up 3 different times going, maybe I can try this. It's always with him. This is the perfect guy to do what we need done right now. So we're in good hands with Mr. Billy Rennie and his team. And I don't know, we couldn't have somebody better fighting for that.
I don't think we could be in better hands. And I will say, a year ago, I was the guy that had gone through all of this evidence. I would have said, I probably know this case better than just about anybody not named Michael Chapel. And today, I would, after sitting with Billy many times and talking through things with Billy, I would say he knows the case at least as well as I do, and it's impressive actually. And what the advantage he has that I don't is he also knows and understands the law and how it applies. So one of the things that he told me and told Sean and I that just really has me more optimistic than I've ever been. There's a couple of other witnesses that we, maybe alluded to or talked to that are here. We have Kendrick Guy, we talked about Officer Maria. They've all put in their affidavits, and they all in certain ways corroborate each other. And Billy said, listen, it boils down to this. If the judge remotely believes pretty much any of these witnesses, and they're all very credible, then it's over. It's done. And so, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but August 28th.
Yeah. here for some cool event, to hear my skinny ass talk up here. You're here to support Mike Chappell coming home. And every dollar above the cost of putting this event on goes to his legal fund. So I say this to say you're fighting a good fight, we appreciate it. Thank you very much. We're gonna meet with you in the back. Do not forget, that silent auction's about to end. Tammy's looking at me like she's gonna kick me if I don't mention it. Bidding ends.
We are going longer.
Yeah.
We are going longer. Okay, Benny is not gonna get it till 9:15 because these guys ran over. So we're gonna give you some more shopping time, okay, ladies, y'all like that? Nobody clapped. Okay.
So,
All right, so I just want to remind y'all real quick. Okay. I will not show you that I don't know how to play guitar. But I wanted to remind you of this beauty right here. We want somebody to take this home tonight, so go check it out. The VIP room is right across to my left. To my left. So if you are a VIP ticket holder, which is all of you up here, please feel free to go ahead and start lining up because you're going to get to meet Henry and Sean and get your things autographed. There are a few desserts left in the back. The bars are still open. And remember to tip your bartender generously. We took care of you. Thanks, you guys.
all right, thank you guys very much. We're gonna take 5. We'll see you in there. Give yourself a hand. Thank you very much once again for showing up and for being here, okay? Good night to you.
I'll tell you that.